Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, now we will be heading towards chapter 21. It deals with muscle blood flow and cardiac output during exercise. Then we will be having a discussion on coronary circulation and some of the revision from myocardial infarction that you have already studied in while we were studying heart. So you have a basic idea of ischemic heart disease and how does coronary circulation, how is it compromised during a heart attack, also known as myocardial infarction. So first of all, the chapter outline that the muscle blood flow, it is dealt with the help of local as well as generalized mechanisms. Similar is the control of cardiac output, and as you can recall from previous discussions that most of the cardiac output and muscle blood flow is regulated with the help of sympathetic autonomic nervous system, as well as the role of parasympathetic is also very important. Similarly, coronary circulation again is dependent upon the role of autonomic nervous system. So this will be studied during this course. So at rest, the blood flow in the muscle is 4 ml per minute per 100 gram of muscle at rest, whereas in exercise it is increased by 20 to 25 times. As you can see, this is 4 at rest, it can increase 20 times to 25 times, that is 80 to 100 ml per minute per 100 grams, and this is intermittent as a result of contraction of muscles. Exercise opens the capillaries. Local blood flow is controlled by, as you all can recall from the previous discussion in the chapter 17, where we discussed local flow to the blood, to the tissues. We discussed that oxygen concentration as well as some vasodilator substances, they are important for controlling the flow rate to a particular tissue according to its need. Then there is role of vasoconstrictor nerves. They secrete norepinephrine, which is very important during shock. Norepinephrine is a vasoconstrictor, whereas epinephrine secreted by the adrenal medullae, it gives a vasodilator effect during exercise. So vasodilator fibers, they also secrete acetylcholine, including the vasodilator effect. The acetylcholine, it causes vasodilator effect. Let me correct it. So next part is, what is the effect of exercise on muscle circulation? There is a mass sympathetic discharge. The sympathetics, they are activated throughout the body. They increase the heart rate and its pumping strength. As you all can recall from the discussion of heart, there was a chronotropic, dromotropic, ionotropic. So all these affect bathmotropic effects. These increase the heart rate, these increase the force of contraction as well as the speed of contraction, the frequency of heartbeats. The arterioles, they are constricted in most of the periphery but not in coronary and cerebral system. Now remember, these two systems are very important. These are integral systems of the body and these are very important. The arterioles, they are constricted in the rest of the body but not in coronary and cerebral systems. The active muscle arterioles, they become dilated. So if a person is bodybuilding, like he's making his biceps, the blood flow to his anterior arm will increase. If he's exercising his triceps, the blood flow to the vessels of posterior arm will increase. Similarly, if he's running, the leg muscles, they are mostly the ones which are supplied heavily. So in contrast to that, if a person is sitting at rest, like you are listening to this lecture and you are recording it in your brain, the blood flow to your brain will increase. The veins, they get constricted, which leads to an increase in the filling pressure. So the veins are also called capacitance vessels, as we discussed in chapter 15 and 16. Thereby it increases the venous return. So what happens normally, that at a right atrial pressure of 0, the venous and venous return and the cardiac output, they cross each other at a level of 5 liters per minute. But in exercise, the whole graph increases. It increases to a level of 20 liters per minute. So there is a 4-time increase in venous return and cardiac output. As you all know that venous return and cardiac output go side by side. So when a person is lifting a heavy weight, this is a localized exercise. The whole body, as I've already told you, has is experiencing vasoconstriction, and there is an increase in blood pressure up to 170 millimeters of mercury. The normal mean arterial pressure was 100 millimeters. Now it increases to 170 millimeters of mercury. But when a person is exercising his whole body, for example in running, the vasodilation in a large mass of muscle leads to a very slight increase in blood pressure. Maybe more, I think it's not appropriate, to a slight increase in blood pressure, maybe 20 to 40 millimeters of mercury. Now the effect of arterial pressure rise, it increases the force to drive the blood by 30%. The dilation of the vessels, they decrease resistance, which causes a double flow rate. Without a rise in blood pressure, the blood flow can rise only 8-fold instead of the 20-fold that is experienced during a marathon race. So what happens here? That a baseline cardiac output of 5 liters per minute, the muscle flow is increased, but at a baseline of 5 liters per minute, the muscle flow is very rare, is very less. The muscles, they receive 15 to 20% of this cardiac output, but when you start exercising in heavy exercise, the muscle flow, it increases to 80 to 85%. So the rest of the body receives only 15 to 20%. So only muscles are getting the major share, the lion's share. Now what is happening in contrast? The rest of the body, the skin, it receives also zero blood flow, it gets nil blood flow. Similarly bones, similarly kidneys, similarly the intestines, they get a very smaller share of the original at rest cardiac output. But however, you can see that there is no change in the heart, there is no change in the coronary circulation. The coronary circulation remains at 4 to 5%. The blood flow to the brain is reduced by about 1/4. It was having 15% of the cardiac output, now it is receiving only 3 to 4% of cardiac output. Now again you can see the same phenomena is shown here, that out of the total blood flow at rest, that is about in this particular equation they have shown it 5.8 liters per minute or 5800 liters per ml per minute. So the muscles, they are having only 1200 of the skeletal muscles, they are receiving only 1200 ml per minute. But when this person is playing squash, so as he starts exercising, the blood flow to the skeletal muscle, it increases to 12,000, so about 10-fold increase. The rest of the tissues, they have a reduced blood supply. Coronary circulation, now we are heading towards the circulation of the heart. Make it clear that the heart, the motor, the pump which gives blood to the rest of the body, it also has some nutritional blood supply to itself. You can't run a motor without electricity, so the fueling of the heart is necessary, the oxygenation of the heart itself is necessary, and there is a very delicate and richly supplied blood supply to the heart, because if God forbid even one of the artery chokes, it gets the person into a very dangerous situation, it gets the person to suffer from a heart attack. So you can see that there are various channels, there are various different outlines and different vessels supplying the heart. The two major arteries are right coronary artery and the left coronary artery. They are arising directly from the aorta. So the heart, you may have this question in your mind that inside the heart it is also filled with blood, but it does not reach the muscles of the heart. Thus blood inside the heart, it reaches only 100 microns, the inner 100 microns of the muscle. The coronary arteries, they lie on the outer side, so in order to supply to the outer side of the heart. They leave from the sinus of Valsalva here. They empty into the coronary sinus, the right atrium, or the Thebesian vessels. When at the end they have to empty, they empty into the right atrium. So the heart has a mini circuit which is complete in itself. So when the heart is contracting, the blood supply, the vessels they contract, so the blood supply reduces. When the heart is relaxing, it is not giving blood anywhere but to itself. And this is called diastole. So in diastole, the heart is not only resting, it is also having its meal time, its food time, its nutritional time. The oxygen is delivered by the coronary circulation through the blood. So again we are having the same things. The metabolic control is by oxygen, adenosine phosphates, potassium, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and bradykinin. These all are vasodilator. They can also fatigue the arterial muscles. They can fatigue. The nervous control is with the help of the same things. Parasympathetic is through vagal. It is a dilator nerve. Constrictor are alpha receptors, and dilator are through the beta receptors. This all you have already studied in heart. Now you can see this very intricate system in the epicardial vessels and the subendocardial vessel. Between these two vessels or these two arteries, there is an intricate blood supply. However, the pressure is very much increased in the subendocardial arterial plexus. Now, as the blood is supplied to the heart, the ATP is degraded to ADP, AMP, adenosine diphosphate, adenosine monophosphate, and adenosine. Under ischemia, adenosine can be lost. After 30 minutes, too much has been lost to recover in a reasonable amount of time. This is the mechanism which is the underlying cause of death after an infarction. So myocardial infarction leads to death because of the loss of adenosine. Now what is the major cause of heart attack? Atherosclerosis. Athero is gruel. Gruel means जैसे उर्दू में कहते हैं कीचड़, and sclerosis is hardening. And this gruel is because of the deposition of lipid. The cholesterol is major lipid which leads to death or myocardial infarction. Thrombosis, which is sudden occlusion or embolus, that you have already studied. It was a traveling thrombus. It is followed by local spasm. The coronary arteries and vessels, they contract immediately, and slowly progressing disease allows. However, not all heart attacks are lethal. Some patients, they do survive. And how do they survive? With the help of development of collaterals. Whenever a particular vessel it is damaged, collaterals develop. जैसे एक रोड अगर ब्लॉक हुई तो छोटी छोटी गलियों में से ट्रैफिक जाना शुरू हो जाएगी later on. But if there is an immediate block, the people, they can't find a way, the cars, they can't find a way. Similarly, if a blood vessel is having a large block with the immediate progression, the collaterals are too slow to save the person. The most common first symptom of coronary artery disease is unfortunately sudden death. This is the misery that a myocardial infarction patient has to face. So people should be alert regarding myocardial infarctions, especially those who are having dyslipidemias or uncontrolled cholesterol levels. Coronary muscle gets about 8 ml per minute per 100 gram of tissue. The blood supply to the coronary muscles is this much. To stay alive, it needs only about 1.3 ml. So the heart can remain alive even at 20% of its normal blood flow. So you can easily say that in this way there is a cushion of 80% cushion factor, that a person can be still saved if it is not receiving 80% of its blood supply. Subendothelium is usually the first to go. Why? You should think in your mind. Because subendothelial has the highest pressure. जब भी हार्ट कंट्रैक्ट करता है तो सिस्टले के दौरान ये बहुत ज़्यादा इसकी वेन्स कंट्रैक्ट, आर्टरीज कंट्रैक्ट कर जाती हैं, तो सब एंडोथीलियम सबसे पहले डेथ इन्फाक्शन नेक्रोसिस का शिकार होता है। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता अगर इंसान बच जाए तो टिश्यू रिकवर कर सकता है। देर आर 3 stages, either it is a dead tissue or it is non-functional, or in the third and the least dangerous state it is mildly ischemic. The dead muscle, it later on forms scar tissue, and the normal areas of the heart may become hypertrophic to compensate for the loss of function of the dead tissue. The non-functional muscle, later on it may become functional. Mildly ischemic heart reverses or recovers quickly. Cause of death is decreased cardiac output, that was shock, failure of kidneys to excrete enough urine. This is known as complete renal shutdown in the heart attack patients. And ventricular fibrillation, as we have studied in heart, that the heart loses its normal rhythm. Instead of contracting as a whole, it contracts like a bag of worms. And what are the causes? Rapid depletion of potassium, current of injury, sympathetic reflex stimulation, abnormal conduction, rupture of the heart. So rupture of the heart leads to बल्जिंग। जैसे आपने देखा होगा बचपन में फुटबॉल के अंदर से ब्लैडर निकल आता था जिस जगह से वॉल वीक होती थी, तो दिस इज सिमिलर टू दैट व्हेन द हार्ट वॉल गेट्स वीक, द नॉन फंक्शनल मसल इट स्ट्रेचेज आउट, और उसमें से आपका सिस्टोलिक स्ट्रेच जो एक प्रेशर की वजह से बनता है उसकी वजह से हार्ट का वो हिस्सा अच्छी तरह से कंट्रैक्ट नहीं कर पाता एज अ सिंसिशियम, और ये फिर लेटर ऑन कार्डिक फेलियर की वजह से डेथ का बायस होती है। कार्डिक फेलियर वी विल स्टडी इन द नेक्स्ट लेक्चर। व्हाट इज एंजाइना पेक्टोरस? इट इज जस्ट अ transient ischemia of the heart which is painful usually. It can be caused by exercise, known as stable angina, can occur randomly, known as unstable angina, and it is usually a result of thrombus formation which has now dissolved. The treatment is just give vasodilators in order to prevent the ischemia of the heart, or give beta blockers, but apart from vasoconstriction they also slow down the heart. The next and the most advanced so far available treatment for heart attack is coronary bypass surgery. The other options are coronary angioplasty, insertion of a balloon and dilation of the coronary vessels, laser ablation, and then we have coronary stents to hold the lesion open, and drug eluting stents, for example the stents which have nitric oxide. So this is all from this lecture. This is done. We are done with chapter 21. Now we will soon be uploading chapter 22, and I hope you will be understanding these lectures and preparing for the test which is going to be held very soon. Thank you.